Okay, we're back up. Sorry about that. We had an outage again. I have to go in and fix a thing here. There we go. Now we're back. Okay. Right, so we didn't actually have a function for this, so I'm just gonna add it. And oops. No, that was the wrong thing here. So let's do self. Yeah. There we go. And then return duration. All right. And then we're back here. So get total duration. And I mean, yeah, I was just thinking if you have like 1,000,000 frames, you could cache this value, but we're not. It's not that big of a deal here. It's just one loop anyway, so okay. So now we should see the total duration, which is, I mean, it's gonna be 0, but at least we have the input here or the label. Okay, cool. So we got that. Now delete animation, we should also have a button for that. So let's see, where could we actually have that? Yeah, I think we could have it at the top maybe. Just delete button at the top. So we'll have if button, no, button, label is delete animation. If that is pressed, then we want to say this, and we want to add delete animation. Delete. Let's just do delete selected animation as a super easy convenience function. So we will get the index, oops, and we will say yeah, I mean, I guess it's just going to be get animations. Swap remove, or let's just do order remove because it makes sense in a UI sort of way, and we'll get it back as well. And then we just do deinitialize. You actually need this to be a pointer, so I guess we will do this. And then we don't care about this result. And we deinitialize it. And we also need an allocator here. Okay. Okay, Now we should be able to delete the animation. So let's test it out. Walk, delete. Oh. Right, so when we delete the animation, we should also, since it's the selected one, we should also, I guess we should deselect selected. Let's set it to null. Okay, we still get some issues. Let's look at the error. Assertion failed. I wish it would show more things where this came from. I do have f reference, whatever it's called, trace on, so it's supposed to show more like the call stack here, but it doesn't. Okay, img widgets. Okay, so what is, we're doing this ordered remove. Oh, it might be that we're in the middle of showing the thing, so then, okay, yeah. So if we delete it here, we don't want to show this because the animation doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe we should break out here. No, we should just return. Yeah, we'll just do a return. Let's do return there, so. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Because right, so now it works, and we can add another one, and we can delete it or whatever. So it makes sense because everything that's in here is like animation details, so it's going to be like selected animation anyways, and then everything below that is going to be also dependent on if you have an animation selected as well. So it's really okay to return here because nothing's really gonna, well, yeah, everything after this will depend on this animation, so we will return there and don't worry about it. Cool, so we got the delete button working. There we go, and that's all for the animation details. Now we can move on to the frames window. This should also be in case we have an animation selected, so let's put this in here. Now I'm just gonna make a window which is the animation frames, and we could add some flags, I guess, but let's just do this. Whoops. And we'll end as well. Okay, so in here we want to show a list of animations. So I wonder if the list box can be, I just want to check what the arguments are. So it's only W and H. I was thinking that we want to have a thing that is, well, maybe you could have a list box actually. Let's try this, and list box. So begin list box. Right, and then in the list box the width is gonna be the same as the window. I guess we could do this. Actually, the height should also be the same. And we should also set like the cursor to be 0, 0. Okay. I think that's relative to the window, but I hope that it is anyway. Okay, so let's just see how this looks. Got some errors. Oh. Another rule. Okay, we select this. Now where's the window? Here it is. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like we have a list box. However, it looks like also it's like a little bit too high. I think we need to discount this. Maybe we should use like the content region, it seemed to be. List box size, get window content region max, maybe? Maybe that will not count. Yeah, okay. This doesn't count that. Okay, maybe we should not set cursor to 0, 0. But then, okay. Now it looks weird. Okay, let's do this. I think maybe this will work. Let's hope. No, still the same thing. Okay. I mean, it doesn't have to look perfect. Okay, let's just start with this one. Right, so I want the animation frames to be here, and then you're gonna click on all these to add frames to it. But in order to see them, we actually have to list them here as well. So hopefully this will work. My idea is that I will put them all in the same line. So what we'll do is we'll loop through all of the frames. I'll get a frame here, and each frame is gonna be I think a selectable, and the label is something. Let's just have it frame I guess we could have a buffer which is a zero terminated U8 that has 2 size, and it will be set to undefined, and then we will use .print z onto this buffer, and we will format it to be D, and this is going to be frame. Well, this is going to be the index, so we have to add index here. Okay, and then this will be the buffer. There we go. Then actually I think this will be just let's just do that. And then we have args. Right, selected. So selected. This is gonna be document get selected. So this is gonna be the same thing. Frame index now. No. Get selected frame index. And we need set selected frame index as well. Selected frame. Okay. Fine. So now we have those. Let's do this. What else is happening? Unused capture on the frame. Well, I want to also draw the actual frame here. So that's going to be a little bit more tricky, or it's not as straightforward as just because the texture is loaded into Raylib. Now I do have a sort of Raylib Ingui crossover library that will sort of make them compatible with each other, and so that library, I forgot what it was called. Was it from it might be from this. No, it might be from C, or it might be from, okay, let's just do that. C. Yeah, oral Ingui. So here we can, for example, put an image, and the image is going to be so I think now we have to do like a cast, because this type is not the same, exactly the same in Zig as the Raylib type, because I'm using like a Raylib binding library. But I believe you can just do a pointer cast on the texture, but now we also need to get the texture as well. So we need to get the texture, but let's keep this in mind for later. I'm just gonna start with this, and I'm gonna just discard this capture. I'm gonna ignore this error, and I'm also gonna ignore, okay, so let's just have the label here. There we go. Okay, expected bool found. Oh, right, so is selected is going to be frame index. Like if this exists, we get selected index, and we have to check if that is equal to I. Otherwise, we have false. Okay. and this one has a bool, so we can actually do this now. So we can do animation document set selected index for the frame is equal to I. Okay, so we'll start this and see if this works. Well, actually we don't really know if it works because yeah, we don't have any frames. We don't have a way of adding frames, so we should probably do that now. Now this is gonna be in handle input, because the idea is that you would click, whoops, you would click on these things to actually create the animation. So I think I'm just gonna start with that. So let's see, I will go to the get some inspiration from, because we've done this already. Well, actually, do I really need to? We have the grid size. We have the document, and so let's do if I think we have it in use. No, this one is out of bounds. This one actually looks at the tile map. That's not what we want to look at. Get grid position, save. This is only for tile maps though. I want to have one, basically one for, yeah, here's get mouse position, get mouse scene grid position, get mouse grid position. So here, this one I think we can use safely, and but the thing is it's gonna be using the tile size, so it's not actually, you cannot do that. So I think what we want to do is we want to duplicate this and then mouse grid position with size, so we can now specify, or let's just call it something. Okay, let's just call it whatever, it doesn't really matter. So now you can actually get like pass in the grid size, so we'll use that as a thing instead of tile size, and then we can simply from here we can actually just return get mouse grid size context, and then this would be tile size. There we go. So we'll use that. Let's get them grid position. And we need the context. So the grid size is going to be the animation document. I'm just going to say get grid size. So persistent data, no, document. Oh yeah, this is gonna be per animation as well. So I'll do this, get selected animation dot I'm just gonna assume that it exists here. Grid size. Okay. So we're kind of assuming that we have an animation. Actually, you know what? Maybe we should just do, because we should have an if we actually have an animation. So let's do get selected animation, because the grid size depends on the animation grid size. So we should only do this if we actually have one. So now we don't even need the get grid size. We can just, yeah, let's remove this. We can just do animation dot grid size instead. Okay, so now we have the grid position. Now it's not necessarily positive, so we're gonna check if it's out of bounds. So let's have an if. Well, let's do if. Let's do is in bounds. It's gonna be in bounds if the grid position is more than or equal to, 0, 0. And we're gonna have to do a reduce. Also, we need to specify a vector. And we will reduce with and. Okay, so that means it's not going to be out of bounds at the top left. Also need vector. Okay, but then we also have and. Grid position should be less than, and now this is going to be the size of the texture but divided by the grid size. So this is going to be like the texture grid size, maybe, or grid like texture. Yeah, let's just call it texture grid size. Now this is gonna be well, actually we need to request the texture here. Context request texture. Texture is gonna be animation. No, it's gonna be animation. Yeah, document. Get texture file path, and then we get the texture out here. Okay, let's hide this so we can see it better. Right, so we're requesting the texture. Now if we have the texture, we can do these things as well. So we're gonna get the texture grid size. It's gonna be the texture size. Is there such a thing, or do we have to construct this? Texture size is a vector, and it's gonna be texture width, texture height, and I believe these are ints, like I32s, but this one is like a, yeah, it's also I32. So this should just be possible to do straight up. Now this one should be texture size and then divided by yeah, the animation grid size. Okay, and then possibly even rounded down. So if we do floor, maybe that will work. Also, I think we need to specify that this has to be a vector for it to be the correct type. And here we have, now we should, so now we have the maximum sort of grid position. Let's actually just call it that, max grid position. Well, actually, it's not the maximum grid position, it's the size of the thing. Okay, whatever. It's like the max, but it's not like included. Okay, so now we have if it is in bounds. So if we are in bounds, we have a lot of nested ifs here, but if we are in bounds, then what we want to do is we want to draw the rectangle around where we are. And we also want to have a, well, actually, you know what? If we are in bounds and, no, let's have it in here. If mouse clicked or down, or is mouse clicked? Left. Then we want to add a new frame. Well, it's going to be, if we don't have a selected frame, we want to add a new frame. And if we have a selected frame, so let's check for that as well. So we're going to have animation document, get selected frame. And now we actually need this. So gonna move up here, grab this, paste it down here, replace animation with frame. So we need the selected animation, or else return null. So now we have the animation, we have the selected index here, and this is gonna return a frame, and not animation dot frame maybe. No, I have to import this. Okay, and then we return animation, frames, items, index, and as a reference. Okay, so now we have that. Now we go back to here, or where was it? Here, get selected frame. So if we have a frame, we do something. If we don't have a frame, so if we don't have a frame, we want to add a new frame. So animation, do we have a function for this? Yeah, add frame. So we'll just add a frame, and the position we already have, grid position. Right, so that should be it for that. And then here, I guess we might want to select it as well. No, maybe not actually, because then, no, we don't want to select it. But if we have a selected frame, what we want to do is we want to get the frame here, and we want to say that the grid position is equal to the new grid position. So then you're kind of replacing the graphic with a new graphic. Okay. Right. So if we don't have a texture file path, I think we just want to return. And we could also do the same thing with texture as well. Make this a little bit more flat. Quest texture, texture file path, or else return. now we can remove all this. All right, make it a little bit more flat. I really like this pattern. Okay, and then we have is in bounds. Yes, yes. If we have a selected frame, we want to do that. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So now we should actually be able to add frames. So let's see if this works. Oh, we got some errors. Expected vector floats or float type found in. Okay, so we might have to do a div here. Now I want to do a div floor in that case. Okay, let's do that. So texture size divided by animation width size with flooring, and then we can remove this one here. What's going on here? Friend frames append. Oh, we need allocator. Okay, let's try it again. Right, now we should see these being annotated. No? Oh, we do? Okay, so we did see it. Maybe the first one wasn't visible because we start up here. Okay, so there you can see all of these things. Now, what I want to do is, maybe list box is not a good way to visualize this. Also, I want to change a little bit about the content region and stuff here. So I think, where is this? Here. Animation frames. So we'll not set the cursor position to 0, 0. And the size. Okay, I'll just keep it like this. But what I want here is I want the width and height of these to be specific. So I'm gonna set the width to be, let's just say 64 by 64 in height. Then I want to say if the current index is less than animation frames items length -2, that means we are not at the last item. I want to be on the same line. So hopefully this will put everything on the same line. Oh, it crashed. Okay. Integer overflow. Okay. So I guess, wait. Well, yeah, it makes sense. I guess, okay, so if there's one item, then the length is 1. No, I think it should be less than 1. Yeah. Not 2. Because less than should cover that. So there we go. Now you can see, okay, this actually works really well. So this was kind of what I had in mind. Yeah. And you can also even select these ones now, which we should be able to start building the menu for the frame as well. And you can see here when I do this, it actually changes the selected frame as well. Okay, but I do want to have a way to also deselect the frame so that you can start to add more frames as well. Okay, I guess you can do new animation and then go back and forth. Oh, it actually remembers. Right, because we don't change that. And that actually becomes an error because, yeah. So when we switch the, okay, let's go fix a couple of things. So we have set selected animation index. Now this would actually, I want to clear the frame now. So this would be set selected frame index to null. Okay. Also for add animation, I want to set selected animation index to be animations items length -1. So we will select the animation, the newly added animation. Okay. Hello, Shadamanan. Maybe better forget that one on the left side. Which one are you talking about? Okay, now we can we select that. That will clear that out. Okay, and then we create a new animation. Welcome, by the way. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, and now we can add more here. We can go. Okay, cool. And let's also try and do this. Yeah, awesome. So let's see. Now I want to, well, I want to show the frames in here. So you can see them. And I also want to, whenever you highlight a grid cell here, it's gonna paint a little rectangle. Let's do that first, because I think we basically have all the pieces for that. Okay, yeah, it's in handle input, or maybe it's in draw actually. Wait a minute, let's see. Yeah, it's probably gonna be in draw, maybe. So where's time app layout? Like here we have draw, drawing the time app. We're drawing select from here, that's right. But the brush also draws a rectangle. Highlight hovered cell. Right, so we're doing this. Okay. We could do that, yeah. We could do this. I'm just gonna copy this. Maybe we'll put this in a util function. Yeah, let's do that. No, build utils. Layout utils. Highlight hovered cell. And instead of passing this one, we should pass a grid size. And also probably like the max size as well. Or like grid size, and then, well, this is more like the cell size, I guess. And then max position, I guess we could call it, maybe. Max position. Yeah, sure, why not? Get mouse position. Right. And then right, we have a scale as well. But this is going to be the grid size. So I'll call this settled size now. Yeah, maybe grid size is a bad name. I'll start to call it cell size instead. And then this one is the grid size. It's not following the same convention now as everywhere else, so it's going to be a bit confusing maybe, but I just realized that it should be called these things. Okay, so we have x and y, grid position times cell size. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. And we have width and height, and we just draw a rectangle around it. Okay, so that should be fine. Now we should probably have a convenience, maybe. Where did I get this from? Over here? Yeah, so this would be utils now. And this should be tile size. Oops. Okay, so we actually have tile map document. Get tile size. But then we also need the grid size. So maybe we should just make this here, get grid size. I think we already have that. We have the grid. We have a grid here and the size. So we can just, yeah, we'll just do that. Excuse me. Alright, I have to go here soon. Let's see. Get grid size. Okay, so it's the same thing here. Okay, now we can copy this, go to our layout animation, and in here we can now also highlight the hovered cell context, but now the tile size is not the tile size, this is the grid size, so it's going to be animation.grid size, and the grid size which is the sort of maximum position, or well, -1 I guess. This will be texture grid size, I think. Yeah. Right, and then this one actually calculates the grid position itself. I guess we already have all this stuff. Well, let's just what's happening here? Unused function parameter, grid size. Oh. Oh yeah, because we're not checking for is it out of bounds. Right. It's using grid for that, which does this. I'll just copy this, be a little bit lazy here. And where is this? Highlight. I mean, we could have a function here, is out of bounds. Grid position, vector, grid size. Okay, and then this would be grid position. Yes, yes, yes. And then grid size. Okay, if is out of bounds, position grid size, we return. All right. All right. Okay. Well, it's not exactly correct, I guess. Interesting. Let's change this to 16. You can see it changes, so but it's not following the zoom in here. So are we using the same camera, or is it a different one? I think it should use the same camera. What if we remove this? This can't be working. No. So why? Oh, okay, I see. I think the problem is, I think we're scaling everything up, which is really unnecessary. I should really like delete that thing, because you can zoom in and zoom out anyway. So, but what I want to do is I want to go. I think the texture, when it's drawn, it's not actually scaled, and that's the issue. So when we draw this texture, we should also scale it. So we'll draw the texture, and I think we should use X. We get a little bit more things here. So this is the position. It's gonna be X, Y, 0. What else do we have? Rotation, 0, scale. Now scale is gonna be a constant of scale, and then the tint. I think that's it. Oh, and this is it. Okay, so let's do float from it. Let's try this now. There we go. So now you can see. However, seems to be something weird with the mouse position calculation as well. Yeah, okay, it doesn't really match. If I match it like this, well, it doesn't match anyway. If I do this, it sort of matches, but not really. Okay, interesting. And I zoom in a lot. Okay. It feels like the zoom doesn't really do anything, which I would presume it would be, but it looks like it's almost like scaled by a little bit. So like the mouse position. Actually, we don't really need to call this in here. We can, well, I guess it's sort of correct though, isn't it? But this one is not, I don't think, is this scaled by the scale or? So this one also does like the camera matrix 2D thing. But the thing is, if we're not in the camera right now, and maybe that's why we need it, I guess. Yeah, because it's just a mouse position, so it's just screen coordinates. And then it does this, it's gonna get the camera coordinates instead, or camera converted coordinates. That's right. So that should be true. And then we scale it here as well. And then we convert it to float. We divide by the grid size, or the cell size actually. And yeah, we're gonna get a grid position there. Why does it behave like this? It's almost like it's doubled. Like I'm at half point, it goes over. Another half point, it goes over. Another half point, it goes over. Another half point, it goes over. So each half step, it goes down one full step. It's like it's doubled. I want this to be white. Very important. Why is okay? Yeah, it's gonna be the position itself is the wrong position here. Like this works if we go to like the time map editor, for example. is using the same stuff. Here you can see it works perfectly. Yeah. Very strange. Okay, I'm gonna have to just write this down. Fix double scale when hovering cells in animation select frame mode. Okay. Alright, that's gonna be it for this time. So yeah, hope you have a great day and see you later.